Hello there, and welcome to the Time Machine with Trish and Mike. I'm Mike.
And I'm Trish.
And we're glad you're with us once again for another adjective-laden explanation, description of this show, for which I can think of none, episode.
Yeah,
And,
I was going to say, what letter are you going with today?
Because I'm big on alliteration. So
Mm-hmm.
I roll with the T's or the B's or the whatever, and I got nothing for you today.
It should be like a t-shirt. I roll with the B's and the T's.
Roll with the B's and the T's.
And just let people figure out what those letters could possibly mean.
Well, because that's the thing. There's like so many, shirts and whatnot for different things that from like a podcast or something where there's such a small subset of people who are even going to get what's on the shirt in the first place. I don't know. I roll with the B's and the T's.
I think it's got a good sound to it.
It sounds good. I mean, I don't know what on earth.
There could be some words I could come up with. It's either that would be good merch for us, or something about the iguanas falling, because that's always I always think about the poor iguanas in Florida.
Okay, so I'm coming at it from a musical standpoint. In music, you have the treble clef and the bass clef.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
the B's and the T's.
And T's, that could work.
Or you could do the T's and the B's. But I think B's and the T's sound better.
Yeah, me too. It rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, some things that's why we do the Time Machine with Trish and Mike. It sounds better than the Time Machine with Mike and Trish.
Yeah, even though I fought hard because M comes before T, but,
I know, but
when you're right, Mike, you're right. So I got to go with it.
See, now if more people would just agree with you, the world would be a better place.
True.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, so shall we just jump on in?
We're just going to roll right in with that first story.
Are we? Unless you have something else you want to talk about or whatever before we get too deep into the time.
Not much happened last week, was it? It was Valentine's last week. We talked about the heartache of Ken and Barbie, but then the reuniting of Ken and Barbie.
Yes, we did. Yeah. And
we can live vicariously through that.
Yeah, sure. We could do that. Super Bowl, of course, was last
Super
Sunday.
Bowl. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's been a
more like
week.
More like the halftime show. It's like, did you hear that there's a football game happening during this rap concert?
So, fun fact: this guy I know, he's like a lot older than me. He is a big fan of the Who, the band. And I was talking to him. It was on the year. I forget off the top of my head what year it was that they did halftime. And I said, I saw him on Super Bowl Sunday that year. And I said, I said, I bet you're watching halftime show tonight. He said, probably not. I said, the Who's playing. He's like, when is halftime usually going to be? I'm like, it's usually about here in the East Coast. It's typically around 8:00, 8:15, 8:20, something like that. He's like, okay, good. I'll definitely turn it on to watch. Because he's not really a big football guy, but so here's my thing. So people always talk about the Super Bowl and how 110 million people watch it. Well, there's over 300 million people in America, which technically means, as hard as this is to believe, there are more people that don't watch the Super Bowl than do.
Yeah, I mean, I tuned in for there was going to be the promo for the Lord of the Rings show that Amazon's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I wanted to check that out, and the halftime show. But I mean, go sports ball. You know me, I'm not really big into the whole watching sports on television thing. I mean, the Olympics I've been watching a lot of that.
Yes. And we will talk about an Olympian here in a little bit.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. No, I've been enjoying the Olympics, of course.
Our first story is definitely not about an Olympian.
In a roundabout way, I could tie the Olympics into it because this person's grandfather started a hotel chain that is a worldwide chain. Therefore, I'm sure Olympians have stayed at.
Oh, I was going to be like, do you know a
hotels.
secret story I don't know?
Well, yeah. I mean, she has a secret talent. I mean, did anybody know Paris Hilton was a DJ? Until all of a sudden
I did. I knew that.
But I'm saying until she popped up and started doing it, like nobody knew she could do that. So how do you know she wasn't like a figure skater? You don't.
Secret double life.
Anyway,
And that is, of course, she's born on February 17th, 1981, making her 41 years old, which is wild.
Yes, the thought of Paris Hilton being 41 it makes me feel old because I do not think of her as being 41.
No. I still think of her like from The Simple Life, but with her and Nicole Richie. Like that's what's in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you go, okay, like if you just were to randomly ask me how old Paris Hilton was, I would say 34. Maybe.
Yeah, I was going to be like 32, 34, around there.
In my head,
even though logically I know she's older than me.
Right, same. And but I just go, well, The Simple Life, that was like 2004-ish, and that was what, like 8 years ago. So she was like 20 something there. So she's like early 30. Wait, The Simple Life was almost 20 years ago. What? No, I'm not okay.
Emotional damage. But I hope she has a great birthday. I wonder what she's going to do.
Yeah, well, she got married last year. I know that. I'd look it up real quick.
But it's always curious to know what kind of like lavish parties people with this kind of money end up doing.
Oh, she had like I know several weddings, like ceremonies, I believe, or receptions or something.
Oh, did she have? She had like one for the family, one for the friends.
Yeah,
I guess it also depends on the COVID protocols wherever she got married. I'm assuming in California.
They got married in LA on November 11th. So,
not a date I'd pick, but that's the Canadianism in me coming out with Remembrance Day. It's like, solemn day.
Yeah, but sometimes just with the way the calendar falls, that I don't think they were intentionally setting out for that day. It's just that happened to be a Saturday and it worked out.
Well, and that date doesn't have the same significance in America as it does in Canada. So
actually, November 11th, now that I'm actually looking at that, was a Thursday. So that is really strange. But
that's the new thing, though, with weddings is to get married on weekdays because it's way cheaper.
Yeah, I get that because you got.
I mean, not that she has a budget that she has to really worry about.
Yeah, I think her dress probably cost more than like a normal person's wedding entirely.
Yeah, the entire budget of a wedding, her dress.
Yeah, but
anyway, well, that's cool. Who knows?
I wasn't invited.
No, never, unless my invite got lost in the mail.
Yeah. Have we? I don't think we've talked about this. I don't think you even know this. Do you know she used to have a club in Orlando?
She used to have a club? Like she ran it, or did she DJ at it?
It was Club Paris. It opened, I believe, I want to say late 2014. No, 2004. It was around for a few years. It was like it was really more of like a business licensing deal kind of thing, but it was actually called Club Paris, and this was at the peak of her run there with The Simple Life and everything. There was that big. She was the
when she was everywhere and she was dating everyone. Yeah. How come Orlando though? Because like her home is in LA.
Yeah, there was I think a couple more around the country.
Okay.
Because you would think of Miami, and Miami might have had one. I could be wrong. But it was a big deal when it opened. She came here for the grand opening, and I think she was obligated to make like monthly appearances. And I think eventually that kind of went away, and the business partner and all that, kind of fell through. But yeah, it was that was a big deal back when it was around here. Club Paris. You can Google it. It was a real thing. But,
when I go to see where the other locations were, it just brings up the best places to club in Paris. Not the same thing as what I'm looking for.
Fair enough.
Well, good for her turning 41, having a great old birthday party.
Yeah, it closed in 2007, so it lasted for about 3 years. But yeah, it was right downtown and everything. It was a whole deal. This is going to make for very compelling listening as I share this with Trish so she can see, but this is from the opening, so that is this was the business partner guy that like
wait who is the one with dark hair? I'm
getting there. And then this was Lou Pearlman. He was like the big boy band guy behind like NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys, and that's a whole separate episode we could do. And then that's Nikki Hilton, Paris' sister.
Oh, okay. I was like, is that Paris? But she's a brunette. That was weird. Okay.
And then this was the club here. So that is the Orange County Courthouse. That's in downtown Orlando. And there she is at the club.
Very cool. I mean, I guess if you wanted to go see the it girl of the early 2000s, that's where you had to go.
So and like local radio stations would do, event nights out there and all sorts of stuff. Club Paris nightclub. It was a thing. And for anybody listening to us,
that everyone's like now blocked.
Right. But if you just Google, Club Paris Orlando, you can see the same images that I'm sharing with Trish that we have gone an entire.
Come up on a Google search.
There's Bob Saget.
Oh, that was tragic hearing the news about him.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Nice to know. Like, on one hand, I'm sure it's nice to know that it wasn't like anything foul play or like so many celebrities end up with, ODing or things like that. Like, it was a really tragic accident that he hit his head and fell asleep, and that was it.
Yeah. So crazy. But I'm thankful I got to meet him last year. That was nice. I got to meet the three of them, and so good times. I have seen him do stand up before. Actually, that was quite interesting. I mean, I knew going into it what to expect.
Yeah, it was. It's funny because my daughter's only recollection is from him from being Danny Tanner on Full House and Fuller House. So she was like, "Oh no!" And like she doesn't know the whole Bob Saget, right? Thank goodness.
Yeah. Well, when she's old enough, she can.
Yeah, when she's older, she can go look at his recorded stuff.
Remind me, I have a story off air to tell you about Bob Saget. A good one. Nothing bad. Just more lengthy than where we have time to get into here on the show.
For the show. Now everyone's going to be like so curious.
Sorry.
Well, if you want to know, you can just call into Anchor and leave us a message.
Subscribe to our Patreon where you get all the behind the scenes. Oh, I'm kidding. Anyway, February.
Speaking of behind the scenes,
there you go.
February 18th, 1885. We're going way back. The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn is going to be published. And I just tie that into the fact that, the character was basically interpreted by people that Mark Twain knew when he was younger, right?
Right.
So growing up in Hannibal, Missouri.
Have you ever heard of the musical Big River?
No.
Okay. Well, you're about to.
Okay.
So Big River was a musical back in the mid 80s, legitimately ran on Broadway and everything. And it is based on the Adventures of Huckleberry Finn.
Oh. They just turned it in. They turn everything into a musical now. I have to admit, musicals are not my biggest jam. Like I love certain ones like Hamilton I can get behind. But.
Yeah, my senior year of high school, actually, we did our chorus variety show. We did a whole the whole theme was like Road Trip USA. So like we did Disney songs and we did like New York songs, like New York State of Mind and stuff like that. And there was a section in it where we did a whole medley of songs from the musical from Big River.
That's pretty cool.
And it was the music for the musical was written by Roger Miller, who's the guy that has the King of the Road song.
Right?
Trailers for sale. That guy. Yeah. So.
Well, this book almost didn't make it. Mark Twain almost gave up on it. He started it in 1876 and he wrote about 400 pages. And then he told a friend, well, it's tolerably well as far as I've gotten, and left it alone for several years while he wrote The Prince and the Pauper and Life on the Mississippi. And then in 1882, he took a steamboat ride on the Mississippi from New Orleans to Minnesota with a stop in Hannibal. And it inspired him to finish the book. So he almost didn't get this classic.
Twain was a busy guy.
Yeah, I didn't even realize he was doing all this other stuff.
Yeah, he definitely wrote a lot. And it's, it's an interesting book because obviously there's themes and topics in the book that, are.
Well, and I think it's very important, especially with all of these banned books happening in school districts now.
Yeah.
That it's important to kind of go through those themes, obviously in an appropriate way. But I like the fact that he always said the change in Huckleberry's attitude towards slavery reflected his own change as he grew from someone who was raised in the South to then he ended up marrying into an abolitionist family. So it mimics that, right?
Yeah. And, that's the thing. I think that we as a society, obviously we still struggle with it as a whole where, there's not change is always hard and difficult and takes time. And, here we are, we're talking about something in the late 1800s and we're 150 years later. And
yeah, still dealing with it.
We still deal with, some of the stuff. And that's unfortunate. But, we just hope that one day all this is history and is not current. But
I find it interesting, though, when books like this are banned or not encouraged to be used. And then it just makes kids want to know more about it. So it's like the quickest way to get kids to read is to say, nope, it's banned.
Yeah. Well, you could just ban dancing.
You could. I mean, what's stopping just at books?
Yeah. It's just no more dancing.
It would be tragic. I dance all the time. I'm a terrible dancer, but like kitchen dance like there's nobody's business.
I was just going to say, do we have any TikToks of Trish dancing? Because this is something we need right now.
Oh my gosh, no. I try to do Go Noodles. If you don't, okay, educators will know what Go Noodle is. When you have to do indoor recess, there's like repeat after me dances. And my grade 8s just like point and laugh at me as I brutally attempt to follow and have any sort of coordination.
But don't they do that anyway?
Yeah, I mean, grade 8s are brutal. They will be the honest truth and they will cut you down.
That's why I can't stand middle school kids. Like I like working with kids. I like working, like, give me, young elementary age. Great. I'm good with high school kids. Middle school kids, I can't stand you. Like,
I love middle school kids.
God bless you. But speaking of banning dancing, that takes us to February 19th, 1984, when the number one movie in the country was a little film called Footloose.
Yeah, it was number one for 3 weeks. And it was actually based on a real place that banned dancing. It was Elmore City, Oklahoma. In January 1979, the local high schoolers asked that the rules be changed so that they could have a prom, to the anger of the Reverend from the United Pentecostal Church. So the kids won and they got to go dance on prom night.
And it's like, if you want a perfect snapshot of the 80s, I think, like, if aliens land and they're like, show us something from the 80s that just screams 80s, I think that movie and that soundtrack nail it perfectly. And I mean that in an absolute good way. Like, I legit love that soundtrack. I mean, obviously Kenny Loggins' Footloose song, but the whole rest of the soundtrack is really good and just such a fun movie.
Yeah. And can you imagine, though, if it was other people played the main part?
Yeah.
Like, as I was researching, they said Tom Cruise and Rob Lowe were both considered. And it's like, I cannot see this movie with either of them.
See, I don't know. Visually, I could see Rob Lowe doing it because I can see some similarities to him. I don't know how good of a dancer he is. So I don't know.
And I am not a big Tom Cruise fan. See,
that's my birthday twin, but I can't see him doing that either, really. I think, and I know discussed this before with other movies as we've gone through the show. Things just work out the way they're supposed to. Like,
yeah, I think so.
Bill Murray as Batman in 1989 does not work.
No.
I think Kevin Bacon was the right guy at the right time. And I think when they redid
I'm a huge Kevin Bacon fan. I'm like so glad that he
and unlike the Summer Girls LFO song, I like Kevin Bacon, but I hate Footloose. I like Kevin Bacon and I like Footloose.
Yes, me too.
And even when they did the remake, I thought, having Julianne Hough, I thought she was the perfect part for the female in that movie. But
and it made a lot of money. The budget was, I was actually surprised at the budget, $8.2 million to make it, but it made $80 million domestically.
That's a
good payday.
That's a good return on your investment. That's what that is. And that was just at the box office. That's not factoring in, VHS rentals, because that was the thing at the time. And then, of course, eventually VHS and DVD and Blu-ray sales and streaming and digital downloads and all that.
Yeah.
So, because that's the thing, the movies used to make money off rentals for a while.
Yeah.
Way back in the day.
Way back.
Yes. I miss Blockbuster.
I really miss just going and wandering and discussing what movie you want to watch with your people.
Right. Because
picking out your snacks.
I will sit there, and I've done this before. I will scroll through for 20 minutes and not find a thing to watch. You put me in a Blockbuster and I will have 4 movies in my hand before I know it, and then I'm going, well, I got to put something back here, because they're buy rent 2 get 1,
But part of the experience too is just wandering, right? The shelves being like, hey guys, have you seen this? Oh, what about this actor or actress? I've seen them in this other thing and they were great.
Well, and you also had like the box art for the tape.
Yeah.
Or the description on the back. That would sell you on the movie sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, I've
or
never
you could
seen
giggle
this movie.
about the terrible like critic, like the one-liners of like
yeah,
whatever they say.
That is an absolute lost art.
Mm-hmm.
And even like I don't think movie posters really get the recognition and attention that they should. And because used to, the movie poster sometimes would wind up being the box art cover, for a movie. Now, I mean, other than maybe the Marvel movies and the Star Wars movies,
no one's really investing in their art.
Right. There's really not much done. I can't think of like an iconic movie poster from the last few years that wasn't one of them. And even then, like with Star Wars, it's just tied into being Star Wars.
Right.
And even like with Endgame, it's just everybody on the poster, really. There's nothing.
Nothing sets it apart.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember back like in my small town anyway, you would have to, when the movies first came out, into the DVD store and they'd have all the posters, kids would be like lining up to be like, that's the like, I want that poster, put my name on it. And they would put like a little sticky note on the back of the poster. And when the movie ran its course for the promotion, they would then call you and say, hey, you can come pick up the poster.
Well, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat.
And have a couple in your bedroom.
Yeah. Well, something else you can have in your bedroom and look at every night is a gold medal, that
would be pretty sweet.
Assuming you win one, of course. And on February 20th, 1998, Tara Lipinski wins the ladies' gold medal in figure skating at the Nagano Olympics at the age of 15. And still, I do believe, unless I've completely missed something in the last couple of weeks,
still holds.
Nobody else has surpassed that record. Now, in Summer Olympics, that's a different story because the age record there is 13. And there was one of the skateboarders back at the 2020/2021 Tokyo Games won at the age of 13, tying a record. With Marjorie Gestring, who won for springboard in 1936. I can't imagine sending a 13-year-old to the Olympics now, let alone in 1936. That's kind of crazy.
I can imagine that it's crazy that it hasn't been. Well, I mean, I guess I can imagine it's hard to think of anyone younger than 13 going, but just no one's tried it since 1936 is a little wild.
Yeah, it's crazy.
There's no way my 13-year-old's going to the Olympics without me.
Right. Especially in like a COVID world where it's even harder. I mean, I guess the minors have to have a parent travel with them, but that's just it. You're just probably one parent, I feel so bad for you because up in Canada, who has the Olympics? Is it the CBC? I think, is that your broadcaster?
That's like our main one. Yeah.
Right. But
it's like running it nonstop.
Right. So that's who produces the Olympics for Canada. So on NBC here, NBC is the TV network that carries the Olympics here in America. We actually have Tara Lipinski as one of the analysts for the figure skating.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
So it's her and Johnny Weir, who you may remember from a few years back. He's a very flamboyant and entertaining
skater. I loved watching him skate. My mom's a big figure skater, so we would watch it a lot of the Olympics run in our house.
Then she would love listening to them because they're very you just tell they just have so much fun doing this and talking about it, and they will coordinate their wardrobe and everything. I think it was the Pyeongchang Games in 2018 in South Korea. They said they literally both brought like their entire wardrobe with them to Korea to coordinate once they got there.
That's so cute. They're like skating besties.
And like so they're the analysts, and Terry Gannon is the guy like kind of doing the play-by-play on the skating with them. And like they're poke fun, they have fun with him about how they're trying to get him more fashionable and stuff. Like there was one of the first nights this year, he had like a pocket square in his suit jacket, and there was like some sparkles or some rhinestones on it or something, and they were like, "Look what we did! We got him to have a sparkly pocket square."
Like,
So
we are positive influences.
it's really it's a lot of fun listening to them.
It's
And
cute.
so they're doing their coverage from here in America. They're not over in China.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I do have, like, Canadians have access to your guys's broadcast. So we can, like,
okay.
sometimes if it's like, oh, like men's curling was on the other night, and like I really like men's curling, but you're like, I'm not really in the mood to watch curling. Like, I want maybe bobsledding. And so then I would switch over to the American site. And
You didn't watch the US Canada men's hockey
no,
game.
you
I know
didn't that
that.
night when you messaged me. I was like,
Yeah,
well, just
it's good for you that you didn't watch, but I was happy with how that turned out. So,
good for you.
thank you. We shall see what happens throughout the rest of the games. Yes.
And games that Trish also doesn't like. I don't do well with Wheel of Fortune. Mind you, I've been getting better with Wordle. February 21st, 1997, the digital board on Wheel of Fortune is unveiled.
Yes, this was a big deal. I remember at the time when they did it, they spent like a 2 or 3 minutes on the show explaining how the board worked and everything. Because at the time,
I'm sure people were probably like, "Hey, could this be cheating? Like, now it's digital. There's computers involved."
Yeah,
who knows?
there definitely would have been that sort of talk, but from a production standpoint, it completely changes the way you do this, because at the time they would have to stop taping and come out there to the board, swap out the letters, because the previous board, and I think we've discussed this before when we've talked about Wheel of Fortune, it was a tri-panel board. So you had a green square, a blank white square, and then the letter. And so you'd have to,
flip them all,
physically turn it. Well, now when this puzzle's solved, you hit a button and boom, the next puzzle loads.
Which is perfect. Super time saving.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would do terrible. It would be very, very sad. Like, just trying to watch me do the Wordle on my phone is already sad enough.
See, I like Wordle. I just kind of forget.
Oh, I like it.
I forget to play it sometimes. I feel
inadequate sometimes with my dyslexia.
Well, the key to Wordle that I found is you need to have a good starting word. And let's not kid ourselves. There is a bit of luck when it comes to it. My go-to word that I use to start, I use radio.
I've heard people use that one a lot. Nick and I typically like to use audio because you get all those vowels.
Works too. Yep.
Yeah. I have a student that always starts with farts.
See, I don't agree with that. I like the way that kid thinks, but it only gets you one vowel. And I know.
I tried to explain to him.
I use radio, same reason you use audio, because it's you're getting 4 vowels.
You're knocking out.
And that's the thing. When you could figure the vowels out, it's a lot easier to solve this puzzles. I think, my opinion.
I think, that's why you start with a vowel.
But I do like farts, though. That kid is going places. It does make me
smile every day. So there's that. It has that added benefit of a giggle.
Something that did not make people smile was February 22nd, 1990, when Milli Vanilli won the Grammy for the Best New Artist. Well, it made people smile at the time because people liked Milli Vanilli, and then that quickly fell apart.
That was not good. They did become the first duo to ever spend more than an entire year in the top 40 Billboard's Hot 100 chart without interruption. So that was kind of cool until then you realize what was going on behind the scenes. Yeah.
And, then so it all came crashing down on July 21st, 1989, when they were giving a performance on MTV and the record started skipping.
Yeah. Then you realize
you go on YouTube and you could find a clip. Girl, you know it's girl, you know it's girl, you know it. It's just on this loop.
It's looping.
And okay, that proves their lip syncing concert, which has become more of an accepted thing nowadays, especially in music performances where there's a lot of pop music and a lot of dancing and that sort of thing. But it's interesting that one of the executives who was with MTV, even prior to that, started having doubts if they sung on their records because of their English skills.
Right, because like they're not even sure if it was actually them singing, which is it's just a totally different problem in of itself, right?
Right, because one is from Germany, and I believe the other guy was from France, I think.
And yet they were claiming their name was Turkish.
Right, and then, but just in the way that you're having conversations with somebody,
Mhm.
it's like, how are you singing so perfectly in English, yet aren't, like your
Yeah, with
words
zero
aren't matching
accent,
up?
but
I
you
mean,
can't talk. Yeah.
like I can, like, being in chorus, I've sung in other languages that I don't know how to speak. You can learn how to sing in
Mhm.
a different language, just like an actor can learn different accents. But
It was
yeah,
just shifty.
yes,
Yeah.
that's unfortunate because they had personality and people liked watching them perform and they had a very distinctive style. But by the time it started to, it just they blew up and it took off,
Yeah.
and then you're just kind of
Then
along
it
for the ride.
snowballed.
Yeah, it's like a lie on top of a lie on top of a lie.
Now, if they had just been, honest with it, would people have enjoyed it just for the entertainment value? Or would people still have been like,
See,
it's all fake? It's like, I mean, it's wrestling. Wrestling's all.
well, but I think here's the thing. You have two separate issues. Lip syncing during a performance, again, it's more accepted now and it happens.
Right.
The bigger issue was, I think, where people took the great offense was it's not you singing at all.
Yeah.
And it's one thing now with with voice effects and Pro Tools and auto tune and all that sort of stuff, to where voices are edited. That's one
But
thing.
at least it's still your voice.
But it's still, at some point, it's your actual voice. Whereas on this example, it was not at all them singing.
Did we ever find out who it was singing, or are they still mysterious?
No, we actually do know who the singers were on that song. It was originally sung, was finished by studio performers, including Charles Shaw, John Davis, Brad Howell, Jody Rocco, and Linda Rocco.
Oh, there was like a few people on there.
Yes.
Interesting. And like I didn't even know it was the Manili Vanilli was supposed to be Turkish for positive energy, but its literal translation in English means national vanilli, which means like vanilli is not even a Turkish word. It's
and they got the name Milli Vanilli. Millie was taken as a nickname of one of the members' girlfriends at the time, and Vanilli was added to sound like the British band Scritti Politti.
I've never even heard of that band.
Milli Vanilli, like you can kind of hear the phonetics, or the rhyming.
I mean, it does sound great together.
Oh, it's a great sounding band name. Yeah.
Something that does not give me positive energy either is on February 23rd, 1975, the U.S. begins daylight savings time 2 months early.
Well, at least we weren't around to experience it.
No, but I hate daylight savings time. Like, I mean, I love the extra sunshine. I hate the effect on my body for a few days.
See, I think it's dumb. I think the whole thing is stupid. And of course they did it back in 75 because of the energy crisis going on at the time. So in that sense, I get where, all right, let's switch to daylight savings time a little early. But as a general rule, I think the whole thing is dumb. It's outdated.
Yeah.
Nobody likes it. We should get rid of it.
The problem is that everyone has to agree to be on the same. We should all just like, I don't know, change it like half an hour towards each other. So it's just like in the middle and just stay on that time forever.
See, but then you shift. No, I'm fine with my opinion is we stay on what we're currently on, stay on standard time. And we don't change the clocks in the spring, because naturally it's going to stay lighter longer in the summer anyway. Do you still need it to be daylight at 8:30 at night? No. 7:30 at night is perfectly fine.
I know when I talked about this with other people, they did say it like complicates things with the airlines immensely. Yeah. Like, well, we can't be held hostage from the airlines in terms of our mental health with this daylight savings.
And it goes back to, and it was, I believe, either our first or second episode ever. We spent a whole
we talked about time. Yeah, a whole episode almost
on time zones. And ideally, you would divide the Earth into 24 different zones that would be an hour apart. But over time, these lines have shifted, mostly because of country trade and what have you, to where it affects everything.
It's human interference rather than just natural geography.
Right. And some of them make sense. Like, okay, let's say if the longitude line goes through, a state, and like in Florida is split into 2 time zones, the western part of the panhandle. If you were to say we're going to change that line so all of Florida is in Eastern time, I can understand that. That makes sense. Like that would be, assuming. But what you run into with somewhere like China has 1 time zone. Well, China, I don't know if you've looked at a map, but it's a big country.
It's pretty massive.
It would be split normally into 3 or 4 time zones. So Western China, it's a late hour, but it's still bright outside. And so their whole work cycle is shifted. Well, you also then run, if you go from Western China to, and I'm blanking on the country that's right next to it. But so like if you cross that border,
oh God, yeah,
you have to jump like 4 hours back in time. I think it's Afghanistan, if I'm not mistaken.
Isn't it Afghanistan? Let me see.
Or Saudi Arabia.
China. They're close to Mongolia, Russia, Kazakhstan, India.
Okay. And it was some country over that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you literally, when you cross the Western China border, you jump like 4 hours back, or 3 hours.
Which is
something.
Weird.
Yeah.
Very strange.
Very strange indeed. And you can jump back to our show next week because we will be here for you. But before we bid you adieu, Trish, do the thing.
I'm going to do the thing. If you have any questions, concerns, queries, freakouts, you can reach us at The Time Machine with Trish and Mike on Instagram, The Time Machine with Trish and Mike at gmail.com. You can pop that into the Google machine and find us on YouTube. And you can leave us a message at Anchor.
Yes, and do all that. And we will be back next week for another adventure through time in our time machine, because that is how you travel through time. That's also the name of the show. So
whatever. Makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Later.
Later.